surprised. I wasn't ready.
Okay.
Those approved, those other two.
Okay, we'll go back into open session. We're doing Mr. Camp? Or where did we let off?
Wherever you want to start back up at.
Oh,
Right
that's
there,
where I
let's do
figured
it.
we were, so I started
Yes.
it.
I'm good.
Yes, let's do maintenance.
Yes, a minute. Yeah.
All right, after last week, we sat down and y'all like to see me do the maintenance worker one, maintenance worker two, supervisor. I'm all for it. We just need to sit down some starting wages. I have further contacted some of my hotel friends here in town, checked their benefits versus our benefits. Do they pay any for their benefits? 3 hotels that I checked, their starting range was $14.50 to $16.38. One of the hotels charges their people $50 every 2 weeks for their insurance.
Is this on what you sent us? What page?
I haven't sent you anything.
Okay, do you have that so where I can have it in front of me and look at it?
I can give you what I've got wrote down.
Because they're gonna be throwing numbers out, I'm trying to follow and.
Sure. Make copies, but,
Later.
let me just give you this.
Page 51. Was that, so it wasn't emailed or whatever with your budget?
No, I just, that's
Okay.
figures that I've got from them. I didn't put names of any of the hotels because I didn't want my contacts to get in trouble for giving me that information.
Oh, man, I need names.
You ain't getting them.
And how am I gonna verify this? Sorry, I had a lot of sugar at lunch.
Sorry, blame Christie.
As you can see, one of them charges $50 every 2 weeks. One charges, like 75, and the other one was 80 something. And their deductibles are about the same as what we're paying for ours. I did get the city's building service workers. I did find what they're paying for. Basically, that's our job detail right there. Their mid-range is 1723.
Starting 1365 though, right?
1379. 20 does. For their building service, they currently have 2 at a part-time. Maintenance worker one's from the state, mid-range is 1446. Maintenance worker 2 is 1587. Maintenance supervisor is 1957. I would like to classify my people as a maintenance 1, a maintenance 2, and a maintenance supervisor, or a deputy director, however you want to title it as. Going in the future, I'd like to see starting for, if we did a custodial worker 2, I'd like to see 1350. And probably could do
That would be the 2.
No,
custodial 2 at 1350 to start. A maintenance worker 1, I'd probably go 14, and then a maintenance worker 2 to 1550 since they've got more experience.
Where's this all at, Grady?
I've got it just wrote down, Jeff. I don't have just numbers that I've gone through and looked at. I can write it down real quick for you and give it to
What is a supervisor?
you. And then the supervisor would be 1950.
Alright, so then you got a soup, which would be directly under you,
Correct.
and how much are you asking for the soup?
1950 is about what that's around.
1950 is about, so 1949?
Sure.
1950,
Yeah, it's about 40,000 a year. Is that correct?
okay, and then what was the next step?
40,560.
the next step down was for maintenance worker 2, which was $15.50 to start.
32,240.
And then maintenance worker 1, $14.5, and then a custodial worker at $13.5.
One, 30,160. Just like custodian.
Yeah,
So
13.5.
28,080.
So how many of each?
Well,
Based
right,
on your current people?
based on the current right now, I should brought my glasses. Flow chart, where did I put that? Yeah, that's kind of. Supervisor, we look to fill probably later in the spring, run an ad and do maybe in-house. Custodial workers, I'm looking at 2. And then even the part-time, I consider him a custodial worker also. Going forward, any part-time would be considered custodial worker 2s. Maintenance 1s, I'm looking at 1, and then I'm looking at 3 of the maintenance workers 2s.
How many do you currently have?
I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 7 total, counting the part-time.
Six
Six
full-times.
full-time.
6 full-times and 1 part-time.
4, 5, 6.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted you to do, is write it down how you wanted to.
So is that supervisor, is that your assistant director position, or is that?
That'd be
Okay,
right underneath me.
okay, okay.
So right now, we would be adding that position.
Correct.
And you think reclassifying ones that are currently here?
Yes.
Are you going to like make them reapply, or are you going to change them
I'm just gonna
based
change
on
their
their-
job titles.
So, let's see where we're at there. So, down the list,
Alright. Block, she would stay custodial 1, or custodial 2.
sorry. Screen's moving without me.
It's alright.
So,
We go into.
you're not proposing an increase?
No, that would be the 28,080.
Yeah, just a straight increase across the board, no merit, no COLA. Unless we have to do the COLA.
That would be the 2880 plus the 360 cell phone stipend. One second.
Right.
Once it pops up there. There.
And the other custodian would be,
The other 2 custodial workers would be John and Brad.
you had mentioned 2, but if you say
Well,
3.
part-time principal.
Well, there's no part-time here.
Should be a John.
The part-time's not listed here.
I figured the way this
Oh, okay.
afternoon is.
So those 2, and then your maintenance worker 1,
Maintenance worker 1 would be Stan. And maintenance worker 2s would be Dan and Gerard and Jordy.
Is there,
I'm just doing it off.
one's just above, I mean, they're already above it.
Yeah.
Have to give them something for
Right.
longevity. Oh, was it? Oh, my whole brain. And then, might as well, a new position.
So that's about the same amount of money we had in there before, the 2,000 apiece. He's 4222 more than I was with the 2,000 for each one. But then that would be adding an additional position that's not listed there.
So then the fun part would come, you'd have to get job descriptions for each one of those. And kind of
Problem.
what qualifications or what brings them from one position to another. I mean, if we can get them more money and keep people here and get people that can do plumbing, minor electrical, HVAC, some of the stuff that we gotta call people in to do, it's gonna be a small investment to save what we can. And the old new jail, it's not gonna get,
It's not gonna get any better.
it's not gonna
No.
get any easier. Stuff's starting to get to be 10 years old, so stuff, you're gonna start having some things fail, and we gotta be able to do some of that ourselves, troubleshoot it and fix it. We got the bigger health building, Adams building, if we start doing anything with that, so.
Yeah, and we've already got it in, so
Yeah.
there's a big savings going further forward.
That would probably be the end of next year, or 2021 before we would have that, but we just need to advertise the job for the
Yeah.
supervisor or deputy director, or whatever you wanna call him.
Does that look all right to everybody, as far as what I'm proposing?
So at this point, we like I said, we're close to the same dollar amount that's in there. Are you guys good with adding a position?
I think I've always told Greg, if he can find somebody who will take the job, I mean, he's getting ready to go on vacation. You really need a supervisor. You need somebody who can step in every other weekend or something, or they've got to just be able to do, they got to be a little Greg.
So total cost with benefits for the supervisor would be 55,853.20. And then, of course, the 12,42 is the adjustments.
I think at the rate we're going, we ought to take the COLA out. Across the board. We're adding so much that we ain't gonna be able to afford a COLA raise, so we're just gonna make some adjustments, and we just take the COLA out so that we can afford it. I mean, I think Greg needs a director, but I'm not for adding another position.
I think we've looked for 2 years, we haven't found one yet, so I don't know.
So you're,
So he says not to add a position, if we
Okay.
can't find one. I don't think you were looking last year. 'Cause we
I
took it
started,
back out,
I was told to start to look, and then I was told to stop,
so that's-
because it wasn't in the budget. It got pulled out of the budget last year.
So I don't think we were looking last year.
Okay.
so a 1% in general fund across the board is 52,562. You can see the 3% cost that 157.60.
general fund.
And that's not benefits, but that's salaries, yes, that's just general fund.
But if general fund can't afford to give the raise, then that comes out of everybody.
That's always been the stance we've taken in the
Yep.
past. If one fund can't afford it,
Right.
no one gets anything.
I don't disagree that Greg needs a number two, but, I mean, we need to find somebody to fill it within, give them more money. I mean, have some part-time people in there or whatever, but,
So Greg, do you have one of your maintenance twos that could move up to the supervisor and live within the number of people that you have?
Go down to 2 maintenance worker, 2s.
Yeah. So
Or
be
can you
2
start
custodial,
training-
1
can you
maintenance,
start
1,
training
2
one
twos,
to-
and 1 supervisor?
or do we have somebody that's gonna be leaving due to attrition that you could fill that spot back?
I only see possibility of one person leaving at the end of next year. Maybe 2,
The end of 20,
at the end of 20.
okay.
Like I said, I see 1, maybe 2. But other than that, I don't see anybody going anywhere unless they leave for more money for somewhere else. And that's the biggest thing I lose them for, is going somewhere else for more money. And then the time I turn around and hire somebody else, get them retrained, it's 9 months to a year before they're.
So if we take out your deputy director and can you,
If you take the deputy director out, just kick my salary up another 20K. We'll just go with the way it is.
I mean, that's just where I'm at. I mean, I've said my piece. If you guys wanna add a position, I think by the time we get done with, a lot of these adjustments, I mean, I'll be voting to pull the full 3% out.
I'm not ready to do that.
I think that's what makes it so difficult, is that one person is a 1% raise for the general fund. By the time you put benefits on it. So that's why we've struggled in the past to add those positions.
Yeah, that one position is a 1%.
Yeah.
And I don't count the adjustments, the other adjustments that we've made in the general fund and what those, I mean, those could add up to another 1%. So now you're taking a 3% raise down to a 1% raise. And general fund was struggling to give 3% before we made a lot of these changes, correct?
Are you okay with the other, I mean, well, I guess it's hard to say. Maintenance worker 2s, 1s, and 3s, other than the open position, or?
Yeah, I think that's really pretty close to what Kristen had proposed anyway, so. It's,
It's just dividing it up differently.
yeah, so that I'm fine with.
I mean, are you gonna have problems with people that have been here for 8 years making the same as somebody that's been here for 2? I would think you would.
Or someone who's been here longer making less than someone that hasn't.
They all should be making more.
just need to make a decision so we can move forward, otherwise we're gonna be here all this week and next week.
I think let's do everything but the deputy director right now, and see if you can, okay, we're giving these new titles and stuff, see if we can get them to step forward a little bit and learn more, and then,
Problem is, most of them wanna come in, do their job and leave, and they don't wanna come back.
yeah.
So it's hard for me to say Jeffrey wants the job, because half the time I can't get a hold of Jeffrey on the weekends, or Steve, or Sam, or whoever, to come in and help. So it's hard for me to say, would any of them step up and do the job? I don't know.
How much weekend work are you getting called in to do?
Last weekend, I probably did 3 hours.
Where at?
One was over at the jail. And if I could've found the parts, I could've been out of there a lot quicker. That's the other thing, I've got them putting the parts where they go, not where they wanna keep them,
Right.
so.
Is that about average, that you're coming in 3 hours every weekend, or you're just?
Some weekends I don't get called, or I'll get calls, but I don't have to come in. It just depends on what it is. A couple times it's been, my computer's not acting right, and I said, call Brian. So it's just little things. I get all kinds of weird calls.
Yeah,
It's not, you know, EMS calls on occasion, not too bad. Garage door or something like that, so.
Where are you at?
Well, he did what I told him to do, is take that 2,000 per person and divvy it up. If we don't have the money there for the, I guess your second in charge, then I think you need to make somebody else a, second in charge from your group.
Cost us comp time or overtime, I think we need to do that.
Do what?
To have one of them be on call sometimes, even if we had to pay overtime or comp time.
So you're saying it's gonna do what? That's bad
Help
or good?
alleviate,
Oh,
just have him come in all the time.
that would make it worth their while if they would,
I don't know if they'd do it for comp time or overtime.
Don't know till you ask.
Yeah.
12,000 we had in there, I was fine with.
So are you all three good with the way he divided up the 12 differently?
Who's gonna be the deputy, the number 2? I really think that you need a number 2 person.
I understand that, but if nobody wants to come in on the weekends, they're not gonna take the job. If nobody wants to call us at midnight or 3 o'clock in the morning, they're not gonna come in, they're not gonna do it.
So how do you do it when you're gone?
Well, I pretty well say, here boys, here's the numbers. If you don't answer your phone, I'll write you up when I get back. Majority of the time, I've got 2 guys that'll do it, but they don't want it all the time. Or they wanna just do it while I'm gone, and that's it. They don't have a problem for, like, these next 2 weeks that I'm out of town, but they don't want to do any more than that.
I mean, I'm okay with him divvying it up, if that's the way he wants to divvy it up. I just would be concerned that we'd have some people that were upset, you know, but that we moving forward, making the same as somebody else. But, I mean, they're all getting a raise, so maybe that's not the case, but. technically doing the same job, then it shouldn't be a big of an issue, except for people that have been here a long time.
And there's only two of them. And those are the two I see retiring within the next year.
Yeah. No, I'm okay with this, and then just kind of have to hold off and see if we can get,
I would drop one of the maintenance twos down to a maintenance one, and then take another 1,000 and give it to each of the other two maintenance twos still left, and say, here's a little more money, and that's gonna take care of covering your butt when you get called in once in a while, or when you have to cover the weekends once in a while. I mean, nobody wants to come in on the weekend, but if
yeah,
you
but you're
know
gonna pay
you
them
got-
if they come in, so. Yeah, and so that's a little bit of an incentive there, is, you know, if they're coming in, they're getting paid.
That's just what I would recommend. I told you I'd give you the 12,000 that Kristen had in there, that's the 6 positions times the 2,000 each. And you can divvy it up how you saw
Yep.
best.
Yeah.
To me, right now, that makes this most sense, as
So-
far as pay people that are doing the jobs, going above and learning more and doing more jobs, is how I gave classifications.
So like I said, I was fine with the 12, and I guess we need to hold off on the soup and see where we're at with the rest of the COLA. Or till we figure out where we can take money from to make up for that extra position. We'll hold
Yeah.
off on that, try to take care of the ones we got for now. So,
Chris, what about the part-time, what does that affect, how much does that affect John?
He would be what?
Maybe a custodial too.
Have it in there as 12.50, is it 150, so it'd be $1 an hour. He's working 11. Go to 14,850.
You still have that 13,750 in there as a part-time?
I have 15.5. You should be able to make it. Then you only have one, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you should still be able to do that in there.
That's all I have, gentlemen. Thank you for your time.
So at the moment, I'm taking this one out.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you're gonna work on job descriptions for the new
Yes.
classification.
I will have it by tomorrow afternoon before I leave.
Okay.
Okay. You're leaving, when are you leaving on vacation?
you need your note back.
No, you throw it away.
Got some chicken scratches on there to add to it.
I actually won't be out of town till Monday.
Okay.
My computer freezing up. Shouldn't have made mine, man, I just wanted to come up and help me.
I guess let's do EMS, cause Matt's been waiting.
I ain't been waiting that long.
Really
Can we
enjoyed
do
sitting in the
EMS, or
dark.
how quickly can we do Judy? I mean, I know she came in after Matt, so we can do,
Okay.
Judy's
Whichever one.
only 2.
So Judy kind of talked about her two adjustments that she'd like to see, in the budget. They're listed on your list there.
But I did, after Jeff made his comment and he was looking at the grid, I did go back and look at that. So for employee number 3, I had requested the 1184, so it is only 200. If we're just going by the grid that was effective January 1st, it is only the $200, which Jeff had mentioned last week. So I will keep it at that. But the first one was my primary consideration, is employee number 4. And I did go back and just so you know, because I know you were talking about GR and everybody's trying to get some of GR. Just for our office, I know it's not a lot, Chris, but I did go back and run as of to date. And our office generated $458,475.50. And out of that, GR will get to keep 231,000. By the end of December, that should be another 21,000 more. So we do generate revenues, and I think that's just important for me to mention. About 80 to 85,000 will go to SURF, and then we have all the other departments, Children's Trust, Housing Authority. We have all the other departments that we put money in, so we don't just, really our cost basically is employees. If that helps any.
Go back to the,
Salary.
salaries. And you show us the adjustments that Judy asked for us.
Yes. Judy, that didn't have a COLA in it, right? The
No.
numbers you supplied.
No,
So
it did not. It's, yeah.
That would be where she's trying to get. We would, if you decided to do it, adjust it to be
Right.
the difference with the COLA out of it, which I can do real quick if you'd like.
No, you're fine.
With the 3%, it's another 1080. If you do the 36 plus 3%.
Right.
Is that what you're,
Some of them, we've been leaving the 3% in there and only doing the adjustment amount to get you to where you want it to be. So
Oh,
the COLA
okay.
they would get the COLA and then they would only get the adjustment for what it takes to get them where. you want
okay.
it.
Well, I'm requesting it.
Plus, yeah.
Yes.
Because you don't fix the top 2 if you don't do that.
Right. So.
I don't know, I mean, listening to, not everything I haven't been able to, but in parts of what I've heard, I don't know if you get to a point where you may have to freeze some of the top salaries or decide what that even top salary is. I mean, I don't know. But, because I had sent emails, and personally, I would like to see at least a 1%, if there's anything at all, at least a 1% merit raise, so that there are still, because percent-wise, I think there's more departments that have more than 2 or 3 employees versus there are some that don't. I know it makes it tough for auditor. I know it makes it tough. Debbie, I don't know if you have 2, 3 employees. Treasurer has 1. I know it makes it tough on those, but overall, there's more departments that have many versus, so I don't know. Those need to be dealt with separately.
And that's the problem with the merit and the COLA, so you put a merit amount in there, and then you're trying to equalize your salaries, and you take your merit pool and you give it to all one person, and we didn't accomplish anything, because we didn't equalize anybody, so, and you could take.
I see that. It has been thrown off.
$3,000, you could give it to one person, and we can't do anything about that, so, I was never a big fan of the COLA raise, but I mean, when we start thinking about trying to equalize salaries and doing all this other stuff, it's like, you just kind of wipe your hands of it and say, look, everybody's getting 3% regardless of how well you do your job. And that's probably not the right way to do it, but.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that because
Well,
how they do
I
their
will-
job is important in our office.
I get it, and I wasn't either, but when you you look at it across the county, I mean, that's exactly what happens, is if you got a lot of people and you got a lot of merit money,
Yeah.
you give it to maybe your best people, and that's fine, but now you end up losing some of your people that you just didn't give anything to. so-
And that's happened, when I first came in, that was happening, and it's just,
So,
So
Yeah,
here
I
it
mean-
is with that COLA in there and then the adjustment when it's the. It would be the COLA first, so you 3% on their current salary and then the adjustment after.
Where's the total? Where am I looking? At the very bottom here?
Q.
proposed salary, right?
Okay.
It doesn't quite equalize your top two, but I mean, they're close.
I think we could-
$35. I don't know, what do you guys wanna do on this? Keep moving, or we're gonna be here tomorrow and Friday and all next week.
well, like, is
That
that,
would equalize the top two.
Still $20 off.
Oh, it's coming.
Oh.
You're delayed, stop looking.
On 5 cents
He's quick.
difference, but yes, that would equalize those two.
Why we're doing this.
Oh, you're a nickel off.
I am a nickel off. You want me to be exact?
here,
You'll bother.
Just teasing
1,
ya.
2, 1, 9, 9, 5. Is that better?
No, not yet.
Not
Wait
yet?
for it, wait for it. Okay.
I know Judy had to operate under Ralph's budget, so, yeah. You've done a good job, really.
Thank you.
We haven't had anything controversial. It's been quiet, very quiet office. It's,
Head down, work.
um,
It's been busy.
Can we trade you this for you forgoing the fees you charge us for having to record our,
I'd gladly trade it.
because I think that's just a,
But
I think it is, I thought the law said you may charge fees.
you could go either way with that.
Yeah, and that just really, that ruffled my feathers a little bit when,
To start charging for it?
yeah,
Okay, I wasn't sure where everybody stood on that. The only thing I did when I came in was I figured out on our computer system, I talked to our software company, we are able to invoice people so they don't have to, I didn't want to
Yeah.
take county credit cards. So
yeah.
we're not doing
No,
that.
no.
But if you want to go back to not charging, I'm okay doing that because we had an attorney look at it 10 years ago when we started to not charge, and we could have gone either way on that. And when you look across board, how much we're really getting on that,
Yeah,
I don't think it's enough. I don't think it matters. I'm okay with going back to not charging.
I think Ralph
If we're
went off to
bartering
his
here.
conference. Ralph went off to his conference, and when he came back, he said, oh, everybody at the conference is charging. And that still rankles me that,
You know, but I think what maybe, and he was a little newer at it too, and maybe they all do now, but they didn't used to.
Yeah.
And the ones who were charging, when you look at Osage County and some of those smaller counties, they don't have revenues. So they're grabbing at anything
Yeah.
they can get. So it's harder we're first-class county. So we create and we have a lot more business than some of those other counties, so I don't know, but it is legally, my understanding is you could go either way on that.
yeah, I think it says you may charge.
says
It
you
doesn't
may.
say you shall charge, it says you may charge. And that's what I, remembered, and I'm like, okay, so you don't have to charge it, but it,
Correct.
yeah.
Where you guys at? Anybody? Look
Good.
at
I was
you.
late waiting to hear what Sam said. I heard a bunch about it,
I'm-
what he decided.
I'm okay with it.
Oh, okay. I was okay with it too, I just wanted to see
Yeah.
where you're going with it.
Yeah.
Okay, move on.
So you're good with the numbers I have in there?
Mhm.
Judy, run. Run fast.
And if you could drop
Well,
if you
I
could drop
will.
those charges.
I will, but I will also remind you, because I know Chris is like, yeah, whatever, it's not going well. But a lot of first-class counties, they have 5 to 7 employees, we have 4. And I've been here before this year, 18, 19 years, we always had 5, but the 5th person was paid for other recorders fund. So we have 4, and I have 2 part-time people that work 3 to 5 days. Between the 2 part-time equals 5 days, so that's my full-time. But I didn't ask for you to pay for that.
No,
Just so.
Thank
take this and run, take this
Thank
and
you.
run.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sam. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Kristen. Working hard.
I didn't know for sure where you were going.
What? I'm just trying to, that has always rankled me about having to pay those recording fees. So I'm just like, okay.
I didn't know if you were saying, well, then, no, you're not gonna do that,
No,
or yes, you
no,
are.
oh, no, I think she's really done a pretty
I'm a
good
simple
job.
man, is yes or no?
Yeah, I think she's done a good job.
Okay.
Done my
EMS.
yeses for the day.
So add logistics officer.
So this is that position that we had last year, or, well, for this year until we moved it to training. So it creates, they're responsible
Yes,
for,
Father.
you know, help us with procurement and all those types of things. This coming year, our procurement process is going to be much less. So, told you guys I'd always be honest with you, so it's not going to be quite as intensive as it was this year. So we'd still like to see that position reallocated.
I'm a no right now, chief.
Okay.
Anybody else?
For the new position?
Mhm.
Well, it's a new old position, but,
Correct.
because David had held that, and David did a superb job, which,
But we didn't eliminate David's position, we turned it into a training.
Correct.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
correct.
It's okay, yes or no, I mean, you guys,
What'd Sam say?
nothing.
Probably nothing, probably no. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I was a maybe,
I did.
No, we can vote first the next time.
but, no, I'd actually talked to Chief Pete. He knew where I was at on it.
I did.
And he was helping us out with the other one too, though, on the, doing some of that with the part-timers though, or a part-time. All right, now where are we?
So that one's a no. So promote training officer to chief of training.
Maybe.
So,
Maybe's here.
so I think that one's important. So she's a BSN. She provides a great deal of information, training capabilities, connections, things that she brings to the table. She is a manager of the training officer. We've identified one. That offer will be going out here probably today or tomorrow, which we've been told will be accepted. So this individual is also would be considered third in charge of the department. So should David and I be at a conference, she would be responsible for the operations of the department, et cetera. So I feel strongly that this one needs to happen. And I didn't get my logistics officer, so.
And this is Jessica.
That's correct, sir. And that's part of it, you know, we're going to absorb some of those duties.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but we'll absorb some of them.
I'm fine with that. Really, Jeff?
So their spreadsheet isn't as easy for me to do this. We'll try it here.
Do you have the chart thing?
Yeah. So, the next question, which I'm gonna leave hers out for a minute, so I'm gonna put yes that it's there, but, so what we need to talk about is, I currently have his admin staff, including his administrative getting the 3% like everyone else. He has proposed, new pay charts.
So with the admin assistant, I think the fair way to do this is to go by just telling them how the county's been doing it, as far as, her doing not being in the pay chart because she has a light duty with others throughout the county. So I'm okay with keeping her in that. I do think we need to go back and retro, either pay her or somehow adjust it forward because she did not get that raise like everyone else did last year. It was just an oversight on everyone's part. So I do think we need to make that whole. But if we're going to, if we don't want to put her in the pay, in a step chart,
Yeah, 520 would be what she didn't get last year, because it was a flat dollar amount. COLA, it was not a percentage, so she would get the 520 plus 3%.
Plus 3%.
If you guys are okay with that.
Are you okay with that, Matt?
yeah, I mean, I think we do need to make it whole, and if all we did
Yeah.
was moving forward, she would have missed out, and so that percent this year would not be based on what she should have had last year,
Yeah.
so.
So the 520 and then your salary times 3%.
We gotta make it right for her. I do think we did correctly.
So that was the first proposed pay chart. If we do that, that pay chart would not be there. She would follow the rest of the county. The other two are the chief of training and the deputy chief, which are the last two columns once it scrolls down.
Why is there such a lag?
I don't know.
So are you good with the 6,500 for chief of training, Jeff?
So that would be the starting at the 1 year on that scale.
Right.
I thought I had two yeses, I'm sorry. Did I skip ahead?
I don't know, I didn't.
I said I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I thought, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I had two yeses, but maybe not.
Okay, and then the admin assistant would be 3% plus the 520.
Yeah.
So we'll
Mhm.
figure it out to do the 520 first and then 3% on her
Okay.
salary with the 520.
So
Yeah.
We
is
need to
that-
fix that one too.
Yeah.
Is that retroing back, or is that just moving, like, how are we? Okay. So how do we make up for the year? Is that, do you guys wanna do that? Do you wanna go back and make up for what she should have had, or somehow adjust this
I don't-
one?
I just think we make the adjustment one time and,
Yeah, it is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the chart, the gray black chart on the right is, so it'd be step one, right at the completion of the year. On this one, that's their, for David, we're trying to do step one on that one. It's still less than what Steve was initially, or what Steve left at, so we'd like to go there. That guy works his butt off. I mean, he's the hardest working person in that department. So I think that he more than earns even that amount. So, out of those would be the two that I think we need to do. So if we could do that, I would greatly appreciate it. I know that he would greatly appreciate it as well. When we did promote him, the idea was, is I believe we all talked that we would bring him in at that, I want to say it's 76 currently, I think is where he was at. 78. That we would, look at that at the beginning of the year. He was okay with that. So if we can do that, I would appreciate it.
I think that's a significant increase to build into a step chart. So if David would leave and you have someone else step in and this is the proposed chart, I think that's a big chunk. The first step.
Well, so I don't disagree the step itself is large, but I think that the starting pay is low compared to the duties as assigned and what the responsibility of that position truly is. So that really that position is supposed to be the inward-looking position in the department, taking care of most of those things. So if we, really that starting salary should be higher for that type of position. But because who we have in there is already there is why we built it that way. So I don't necessarily think that the rate is the issue. It's really more the starting side of it versus that second step. And that was to, if he should ever leave, we were able to look and evaluate the person, and then if they are meeting those expectations as David is, that next step would kind of baseline them to where they really should be.
What were we paying his predecessor, did you say? I know we
I
talked
believe it was
about
86. 85 or I believe it was 86 when he left.
I mean, I think that's my main issue, is you flow down his charts and it's about 1,000, somewhere close in between each step, and that first step in deputy chief is significant compared to every other chart.
jumping from,
78 to 83.
So, I mean, obviously, we got some talkative commissioners up here today, so, obviously, he's at 76, probably should have been at 78 when we hired him, and a nominal raise on top of that. I could see maybe taking him to 80, but I think 83 is a little bit of a stretch, but I know he's doing a good job for us, doing additional duties and stuff, so.
He's also basically taken on that logistics role
Right.
in addition to his role. So, I mean, he's been, what I would say, substantially underpaid for his duties this last 6 months. And this is trying to, he's still going to have a lot of those responsibilities. We're gonna try to reshuffle and come up with some alternative plans to help in that logistical issue. But I do think that, you know, I'd ask you to consider the 83 as an appropriate amount for what his workload is.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Chief of training, would she hit step 1 at a year, or would she?
She would go to
hit-
step 1 every year.
So her hire date year, not
No,
as
her,
of today?
no, so her promote date. So that would be based on her promote date.
Which would be now, because we're creating, like January 1st, because we're creating that position,
No,
or,
I think it was August 23rd or whatever that is.
so whatever date she became a training officer?
Correct. When she came full-time as a training officer for us, she would then go to that step 1.
So, what are we talking about here? So, I thought we had already talked about, chief of training getting,
Right, so she,
six-
the 68 starting, but
right,
he wants to go to anniversary dates for when they move up steps. So would her anniversary date be January 1st when you create that chief of training? Or would her anniversary date be the date she got promoted to training officer, which is the step below it?
So I don't think but we didn't do any of those, the other scales based on January 1st of creation of the chart or position or any of those other things like training or logistics at the time. So it was based on the anniversary of the other ones. Like, so when they're hired in, except for administrative staff, that's promote date. So you can be here 20 years, but you're starting over at step 1 if you promote at the date of promotion.
Right, but in
So-
this circumstance, she's pretty much getting a promotion January 1st, because you're creating a chief of training that you didn't have before.
We had a training officer, right, so we're just readjusting her.
Well, battalion chiefs, okay, when is their anniversary then?
That is when they're
When they were
promoted.
promoted to battalion chief?
Correct, that's when so their anniversaries are not their hire, but their promote.
Okay.
I'm saying the same thing.
So that's what
Your
she's saying
promotion
is
from training officer
to
chief of training
training.
would be 1/1, or whatever the first payroll period is that we do adjustments. It's gonna be later.
And we can do it, I mean, sure, I mean, we
Yeah,
can do
that's-
it that way. if you
yeah,
wanna
that's
do
what
it.
So
she's-
she would stay at the starting until she meets that anniversary date of the promotion. is what
Right,
I'm
so if we
saying.
adjusted it to the 68, then at 21, she would then,
Okay,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
what I'm
I'm
saying.
okay with that. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I thought
That
you were
was my
saying waiting a
question.
year before you put her there.
No, I'm
Okay.
saying that she would go to 68 when we do the salary increases.
Right.
But that would be her new anniversary
Correct.
date for
We can do that.
moving to step one.
Yes,
She would
that's-
move to step one when she moved to training officer.
Right.
That was what I wanted to
Yeah,
Sorry, I thought we were
So-
saying the same thing.
clarify. Okay.
Obviously, we approved a step chart for battalion chiefs, medics, and EMTs,
Yes.
maybe dispatchers.
Dispatchers
Right.
were on EMT.
Yeah, so the only ones you were missing was that administrative assistant,
Right,
the new chief of training that you're creating,
right.
and a deputy chief, and then the chief.
And the creation one is a
Those
reclassification.
were the ones that were not created originally. There was no step chart for those positions.
So are we talking about approving this, or are we talking about making adjustments to the deputy chief and the chief training officer? I mean, cause I don't look at them as the same.
So both. One was to create a chief of training and pay them 68.
But we would
which I-
lose one of the training officers, so it would be a reclassification. We're not adding a position, we're
Right.
reclassifying.
Right.
yeah,
So he currently has 2 training officers. He wants to make one a chief of training and one a training officer. Still 2.
Right,
So that was the first discussion. Does the starting of a chief of training 68?
right.
Then it's approving a pay chart for those positions.
I thought we were talking about the deputy chief pay.
Well,
Now we are.
same thing.
No, not the same thing. We're talking about pay, talking about what we need to pay these people. This is a separate discussion. I mean, this
I
is
thought-
proposed, but that don't mean we have to accept that.
Right.
So,
No, that's what we're talking
or
about.
to move
though.
forward on that.
Right. So there wasn't a proposal to change the deputy chief's salary. It was to propose a pay chart. So when he meets his anniversary, this would be the pay chart.
What she has in there now is 3%.
Right.
But I mean, are we gonna make an adjustment at the first of the year, and then when they hit their anniversary, they're gonna get,
So
Is
yes,
this
you
correct?
guys discussed earlier that you wanted to move to anniversary dates when we talked previously.
with the previous pay chart?
Yes. Yes.
And you have that in the budget,
Yes.
and we should be under, because some of those people won't get that step till their anniversary date comes around.
She
Well-
got it figured out.
Yes, so, yes, essentially, yes. Some will get 2, cause they missed their anniversary date this year, so they'll get one in January, then they'll get one on their anniversary date. Some people that were hired during the year this year will only get one, and it's on their anniversary date.
And how did you budget for that?
It's
So elaborate.
elaborate spreadsheet that calculates every one based on when their hire date was?
Okay. So you didn't figure everybody at the higher rate for the whole year?
No, no. So now we're down to discussion of those admin people. I have 3% because I did not have approved pay charts. I only put in 3% for chief, deputy chief, chief of training, I did
The
logistics
training
officer,
officer, right?
yes.
Oh, white shirts.
Yes, and then his admin assistant. Those positions, I did 3% because I don't have approved pay charts.
was that 78, is that the proposed with the 3%?
I thought 78 was where he was right now, am I wrong?
So then if you put 3% on, you're at over 80,000.
No, so the idea is that the starting,
Yes, he was, no, he's at 76, 78 to 80 would be where he is with the COLA.
3%.
$76 is his current pay. 3% would you are proposing a new salary for him, I did add that. Cause we're not currently at 78, we're at 76.
Right, so what we would ask to do on that is put him at that 83, that step, and then on his anniversary, we won't increase because he'll be at that higher step. And then the 2021, if steps are approved, then he would continue his forward motion.
So essentially, he's going from 76 to 83.
Correct. But he would stay at that for a year and a half. Right, because he wouldn't then be eligible to take that next step until the 15th, because his promote date was 7/15 and 19. He wouldn't then go up the step until the 15th pay period up there of July of 21, if he goes to the step 1 now. Otherwise, he goes to step 1 July 15th of 2020, if you approve those scales. If not, then we're just talking, so if you don't approve those scales, then we're just talking about a quote-unquote one-time salary adjustment for this year.
So let's back it up. Are you okay with the chief of training's proposed pay chart?
Yes,
Because we were okay with the 68 starting.
yeah, I am.
Just the chart that we're talking about, right?
Just this, so you've already said 68, so she would move to 68 as of
Okay.
whatever day.
Mhm.
And then this would be her pay chart going forward, so she would not get the percentage like everyone else, she would get the steps on her anniversary.
Correct, and those end up being about $1,000 a year, is what those equate out to roughly.
Those steps are only approved if we approve them in the budget.
That's correct, sir. They're not automatic steps, you have to approve.
So is she going, or that person going to 68 January 1st and then eligible for a $2,000 bump at their anniversary date?
From that point. So you're creating this position, so when she gets the 68 bump, when everyone else gets their pay increases, I don't know what that date is, last year was January 13th, I think it's the 20th, January 20th. So as of January 20th, she would go to 68. That would be her promotion date, so her date she would get her anniversary increase would be January of 2021. So she would move to step 1 on January 2021,
If approved.
if approved. Which is gonna be fun if you have people that anniversary dates in that first 25 days of the year. I don't know how we're gonna do that.
Which I don't.
Awful quiet over there, soup sandwich.
I got chief of training, training officer, logistics officer, I got all kinds of things thrown at me.
Trying to break it down.
Yeah,
Are
I
you
know.
good with chief
But
of training's
we've
proposed
also
pay
bounced
chart?
around.
Yes.
I have one yes.
Yes, I am too.
Sam is a yes.
So the chief of training, the one in blue.
It's
The
2.
one in blue,
Mhm.
Okay, go.
yes. Okay, so we've approved that pay chart. Now, deputy chief.
I think David is a rock star, but going from 76,
I was gonna say.
I'm more
76
like,
to 83
I
is
like
what is
the
what we have.
80,000 that Chris had mentioned earlier.
Was he underpaid when we brought him in? Probably.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
Yes, without question underpaid
yeah,
for his duties.
yeah, he's
what was our pay chart for that back then?
We didn't have one.
We did not create it originally.
What did Steve come in at?
Steve came in at the 76, the same amount, and then he was readjusted to 86. I think it was 85 or 86 when he left.
to allow, I think, some for insurance, or was that,
It
yeah,
was-
yeah.
There was
Yeah.
the adjustment for insurance
Yeah.
and things. So even at the 83, it's still 3,000 than when Steve left. And David has been doing most of the logistical work as well. He's kind of dual-hatted that role at this point. But even moving forward, as we try to figure out how to realign that, I mean, the guy works from 7 AM to 7 PM almost Monday through Friday,
Cause sir, and he came to us, he was just gonna do it part-time, and so real estate.
right?
I'm like, uh,
What do you say, real estate don't work?
I'm just saying,
You ever had real
Uh,
cars?
he just thought this would be fun to do part-time.
So hypothetically, if we went to the 83, would he be eligible for another step next
No, we
year?
would be fronting his step early, so he would not get that step in
So then
July.
his anniversary would be on January 1st then?
No.
Change his anniversary date?
He's
No.
saying he would skip the anniversary this year.
So he would.
That
he
would be August of 2000.
It would be, well, it would be July
21.
15th of 2021.
One,
Because
yeah.
what we would essentially be doing is moving his step up 6 months early, right? And then he wouldn't become eligible for step 2 until July 15th, 2021, provided they were approved next budget cycle. So really what we're asking to do is front him early 6 months of his step.
But I still am having logistical issues with this proposed pay chart.
Because of the first step? or
Because of the
in
first,
general?
well, because of the first step.
Okay, so not necessarily the 76 to the 83, but the
Well, that
78
was,
to the 83?
that was hard to swallow, but,
But the
I don't know
78
that-
to 83?
huh?
The 78 to 83
It's 76
is-
to 83. He's currently 76,
Yeah.
not 78.
But I'm just saying, if he was a starting position and we jumped into step 1, which essentially is what you're wanting to do, but he never was even at the step 1, or starting year 1.
I think you need to have a discussion about what the starting salary for
I
a
got all
deputy
day.
chief should be.
Well, till 4 o'clock. So,
So,
I-
I mean, really, if you think that it should be 80 and then it jumps to 83 and 85 and 87, that would make more sense in the proposed chart. I
So we were
think
try-
David is the exception, but I think you need to do the chart based on,
And I'm okay, right, so we were trying to go with what we currently had and how do we be palatable in that change. But should that person be starting at least at 80? Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think that job, in order to get the right people in there that are going to be able to perform those duties as assigned and at the level they're assigned, I think 80 is probably a
that
good
could be
starting
argued
point.
across the county.
Mhm.
That could be argued across.
Yes.
the
Without
county.
question, without
So-
question. So
But-
that's why we tried to say 78, and that gives us a year to evaluate that person where we're not giving too much money into that, should David leave or anyone. And then, yes, you're meeting the expectations, you're doing a good job, hey, your step then goes to this, right? So that was the idea, is to bring them in slightly lower, see how they perform, and then move them up.
so just to be the devil's advocate, why wouldn't David go to 78, because he's early at 76 at January, and then move to the 83 on his anniversary date?
So you could do that, I just think he's worth more than that, that is what he's doing currently.
I would almost say do 80 in January, and then in August of next year, then he goes to 83. So we're not skipping the year,
Sure.
we're going to his anniversary date then.
I say change that first jump. that
Yeah,
First step
yeah.
from 78 to 80.
80. And then it's,
Take him to 78 now, and then when his anniversary date comes up,
Take him to 78 or
Go
take
Take
him
him
to
to
80?
80.
Take
It
him-
just said change to 80.
80, yeah.
no, step one changed to 80.
I know, and then you said take him to 78.
No, I want starting
Oh.
at 78, step one at 80, step two at 80.
No, that
Two.
is
That's not what
one
Sam
story.
said.
I was
No.
saying, put him at 80.
I
and
wasn't
then-
agreeing
and
with
then
Sam.
At his anniversary. Oh, you were or weren't?
No, I wasn't.
Oh,
Okay, so
Okay,
Sam
I'm
would say
sorry.
change
I
this
saw where
one
you
to
were at.
80.
yeah, okay.
Sam, I saw where you were at.
Okay.
And
I
then-
was throwing mine out there. I saw where Kristen was at too.
So Jeff's would be take this to leave this at 78, change this one to 80. This one to
No,
83.
Sam's there.
Yeah, she's just.
Oh, yeah, so this would be
Okay.
Sam's option, just change the first starting salary to 80, and then jump to 83 at step one. Jeff's idea was leave that at 78, but change the following steps by like 2,000 or 3,000, whatever.
So you want me to give you a different idea?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
what's
you
your idea?
pick one of those.
And what's your idea? So we'll just mark them up here, this is Sam, this one's
So to kind of
Jeff.
put this in perspective,
Jerk.
and I get the money part of it's different and all of that, but a battalion chief, the equivalent of a battalion chief of the city fire department is making more than David, substantially more than David currently is. And so with David being a deputy chief, the people of similar rank are making substantially more money than him. People of lesser rank are making more money than him. And they're very similar duties in the respect of different functions within the emergency services, but, right, those positions are, the position of a deputy chief elsewhere is similar to the same types of duties, because you're not out there doing the medical side as often, or the fire suppression side as often, or any of those things. That's all internal operations and, you know, wrapping your head around how to do X, Y, Z, and save money and do this and do that. And those are those spots that position requires. So I'm just trying to make this as equitable for him as I can.
So you're saying local positions of lesser rank are making more than him?
That's correct, sir.
Be aware that is across the board when you compare any of
Right.
our directors or anything to
Yeah, I
the
just wanted to
city.
clarify what he said.
Okay, what's your suggestion though?
Recess to your office.
I like that. Ooh. Ah, I like that.
I would like to follow suit with Sam here and move him to 80 and then eligible for 83 on his anniversary date.
If you start at 80, then on his anniversary date, go to 81 or 82. I could swallow a lot easier. I think our top heavy is getting top heavy and getting bigger raises than a lot of people down in the trenches. I appreciate what they gotta do. They gotta put up with us three.
So you're thinking 80 to 82?
Well, so I mean, I understand what you're saying, but you have people that are working by the hour that may be a medic or whatever, and they could be making more than David working an hourly wage, I mean, with overtime and everything else too.
They're
So
also gonna be working more time.
they're working more, but they don't have the responsibility, they don't have any of the headaches, they're just showing up and doing their job and doing what they need to do. Some people, that's what some people like to do. And then go elsewhere and work other jobs and stuff too. So you can be working 7 days a week on a truck anywhere in the local area.
If they wanna work that much, making straight time on two different trucks, not much. Good lord.
They're doing it.
So,
So he would go from 76, which is where he currently is, to 80.
But that wouldn't be 7,000 total throughout the whole year. Because that's only half of the year that he gets that extra, so you have to divide that in half.
Well, then
Right,
it's-
but you're still adding essentially 7,000 total to your budget.
So from that time till 12 months later, he's making that much more.
Mhm.
But not within the same budget year,
Same calendar year?
which is.
So from January 1 to December 31st? I don't care. The 12 months, though, he's making that rate, so.
I think
Getting any closer to getting this thing done?
So
I'm not crazy about that chart, so if y'all are okay with the chart going, I can swallow the 80. And then he takes the first step as anniversary. But I don't like going from 80 to 83 or 78 to 83 or a big jump like that. None of my arguments have anything to do with whether they do a good job or not, because if they didn't do a good job, I wouldn't even be up here arguing to change it at all, so.
So keeping in mind that if you were to do roughly a 3% raise next year across the board, at $80,000 at that rate, that's $2,400. So that step isn't far off from.
So do 82.5, and then the next one at 85, I mean, that's 3% roughly.
Yeah,
Maybe you split the difference there.
Well, then, I would hope you would consider that too, if you approve steps in the future, that the rest of the employees are in the
Right.
same line.
mhm.
Because that makes it very difficult to afford that every year.
Well, and your other charts are not following
No,
that at the moment.
Other charts aren't following what?
Like his
3%.
chief of training isn't following like 3% annually kind of thing.
Or they're under it too. so.
Right, a lot of our charts are under that percentage.
Right. I'm saying comparable, his would be more than
Right.
the rest of your charts are.
The idea is that we have a known step every year. So we know sometimes our steps will be lower, sometimes our steps may be slightly higher. So that's a calculated risk when we built those, that the idea is that that step is predetermined for multiple reasons, one being recruiting, because then I can talk about, hey, if steps are approved, as long as they continue to improve, this is our end goal.
I'm good at 80,000, then go to 83 on his anniversary. And tell David he cannot go anywhere.
I think he's happy.
That's what,
I'm good too.
yeah.
Okay, so 80 is the starting salary for
Yep.
that, so he would go to 80 in January
Yep,
and 83 on his anniversary.
yep,
83 is a step one then.
right.
Mhm,
So the only thing changes is the starting
Yep.
year is still
mhm.
an 80. So,
We're a year
Okay.
sooner than we
You
would
got
have
two
been, but
people?
we're still, yeah, it's,
Thank you, Jim.
Don't think that I'm picking on public safety. That's the last thing I want to do.
I never said
that's,
that.
you're
I've been having
hollow.
chest pains lately. That's the last thing I want to do is have y'all mad at me.
You're hollow. You still got those?
I heard that, Debbie.
Everything hurts, man. I'm getting old.
I don't know, we got lots to go yet.
I thought we were done
I
after
need
this
that.
one.
Okay,
I need that.
Okay,
yeah. I'm gonna send it to you right now. I just saved it. We're done with, unless you want something else.
No, we're not done.
What?
EMS budget?
Oh, do you have other questions? Sorry, I didn't go there.
So we had, public education,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
$8,000, medical supplies, he wanted it to stay at 195. And then, in his capital request, we talked about, some HIPAA compliance things, and we need to add 35,000 to his capital.
What?
that was what,
Oh,
Some
Our
HIPAA
close-
compliance
what our-
stuff.
yeah.
I didn't hear that.
We need to
Yeah.
add 35,000 to
yeah,
his
it's about,
capital.
yeah.
So,
I don't think we had 35,000. We got to bump something off there at 35,000.
I think,
Because
I think that part of it has to be in closed session, that conversation.
We
It
already
was
talked
in a
about it,
conversation
so.
this
okay.
morning.
We did, yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We
Yes, I
did.
was well surprised.
Okay.
Yes,
uh,
he was thrilled too.
I mean, we've trimmed his capital down quite a bit, so.
Just beware, all the changes we just made to salaries are gonna have to increase that transfer.
Okay.
So you're adding to the capital already by these changes here.
Adding to the transfer from capital.
Yes, from capital to his operating,
Right.
because his operating was balanced.
Right,
And just so I'm clear, that's, Brian brought that to you guys?
yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right, then I know, I'm just making sure that we're talking about the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yes, it's Brian's fault. I know he's listening.
I just wanted to make sure. it
But
was-
when it comes to
Him and I were on the same.
HIPAA
page.
policies and things like that,
Is it PPA or
have to do.
HIPAA?
We didn't necessarily agree to buy them today.
No, but
No, it's just a
No.
placeholder.
I think that if we want to do that, then something on the bottom of the list just falls off.
So if you need to, you can take out that copier and stuff. I mean, if I gotta give something up, let's start
I was
there.
gonna have you nix Brian's office over there.
Hmm.
It's how much,
35,000.
And that's kind of what they brought up today, so. I mean, I know that we're talking about that, so that's,
I mean, so we don't have to do any of that stuff, but obviously, some of that stuff's been purchased or is in the process of being purchased, but anyway. Well, we trimmed his capital way down.
well, we gave him a lot last year, though. He had a lot of things brought up to speed, so it's gonna have to make an adjustment between last year and this year, and build it back up maybe, or.
And I believe, and I'd have to ask Brian, but I do believe that the desktops were done this cycle from him. So again, I think that's another place that we can look at potentially.
So this 48 here and this 25,
The 25, no.
or 10, I mean, sorry.
I need that 25.
I'd slow.
did you
That
leave
48
medical
for
supplies at
desktop, and
180?
That 10 is what you're talking about?
Yeah, we can, what?
Desktop stuff from, or he's paying.
I think we make those decisions later. I mean, obviously, the amount went up. but, I mean, we can always trim that. I mean, that's up to us later.
Do you want to take those two items out?
What, 200?
He said desktop computers and monitors and the laser copier printer fax. So that 10,000 and the 4,800, I just zeroed out.
The reason why that one's in there is the one in dispatch literally prints one page at a time. And I mean, 30 seconds apart. This is why.
I mean, I don't- So we just bought a bright printer for the health department. It was $3,800. So what's this, 10,000?
I asked somebody and they said, oh, it's probably 10. It was a wag, so, and when I mean wild guess, so.
Oh.
So 3,500?
Can at least make it a swag,
Stupid wild guess.
scientific wall, yes.
Do you need it to be color?
Yes, that does, because our protocols,
As
so
probably
our
thicker.
protocols are printed and they're based on color-coded items, so that part, it does have to be.
That's probably the big difference.
I'm kinda looking at the bottom line, and that's what you get. You get that number to work with, and when you get it spent down, then that's all you get, so.
Give the sheriff 600,000.
The additional rooms to
He
Station
bought
One,
Vita last time.
But this is not the ambulance.
I know
He
we,
hasn't bought me Vita.
but the additional room to Station One's 25,000.
That's important.
Are you,
So what we'd be doing is we'd be taking the day room currently. Right now, we have crews, up to 3 in one room, which are 10 by 10, trying to sleep. And,
So it's at Southbridge, it's not at the sheriff.
correct, it's at Southridge.
Yeah,
We would
yeah.
we would be making additional bedrooms so that every person had a bedroom to sleep in, so that they're not, fatigued, and et cetera. I mean, right now, I've got some people that because their partner snores horribly loud, they're sleeping on a recliner. That's a quality of life. I mean, they're spending 48 hours there. I'd like to at least give them a spot they can fall back into without being. And so that.
I didn't want to get down in the weeds with this, I just wanted to add that in there, because I mean, this HIPAA compliance stuff is something that we have to take a serious look at and
Mhm.
try to get accomplished, so.
So you want me to put those two things back in?
I mean, I think if they need a copier, I mean, and that's a high priority, I think it needs to go back in. I mean, we're talking about, I don't know, we were at 185. Or were you at 179 is what we had before. So basically I had 35,000 to hit.
So we're going to 221.
Right.
Yes, no?
I really don't have a problem just saying, here's a bottom number, we're gonna work with it. Because some of that stuff's gonna fall off the list probably anyway. Something else is gonna
What?
come up, so.
What number do you want?
I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to this adding a 35 to it, because we get to basically control it anyway. Before it buys anything, we okay it.
Right.
And if we
that's
decide
all
that
I was
right now,
saying.
hey, we're happy with you being able to make rooms for each one of them so that they can rest in peace, but still, we may change our mind and say, no, we're not gonna do that, we're gonna get something else, so.
Earplugs.
Just, if that number fits in right now, just use that number. And that
221,
includes-
834, or you want it to be something else?
And did that include the 35 for the other stuff that we?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Just leave it at that right now.
Is that the only other thing you had? Or you had some other stuff, Chris, you were naming off?
So
Public relations and paramedic school.
medic supplies,
We decided to
Ye-
leave,
You left it at
195.
180?
we left that at 180.
180, okay.
okay.
And if we need to get more out of there, we can take that from contingency.
Yeah,
Try
I
to.
mean, that's
And
the
you
one
tell
thing
me.
that I don't have it, like, if I need it at that point,
Yeah.
I have to get it,
Right.
because it's medical
Yeah.
supplies.
well,
So-
we did that with health department, so that, yeah, that's,
You had public education, had a request for public education dollars.
Public relations.
Public education.
Public relation, public education, whatever.
public relations, yeah.
So it's.
$7,800 there. And what were you gonna spend that on, Matt? I mean,
So some of it is things that, you know, when we go in and we talk to, you know, grade school kids, things like that, we, you know, educate them on the profession, how to call 911. Sometimes they're coloring books and it educates them on 911, paramedics, what to expect when they show up. Also part of that is so it's kind of a multifaceted, is a public education piece on stop the bleed, what to do in a case of an emergency. The best part of that is reducing the frequency or the aspect of us going out, right? If we can get them to self-help before we get there, ultimately we end up spending less money on a medical standpoint, because if, an example, if somebody knows how to put a tourniquet on or make their own tourniquet, if they haven't extenuated themselves before we get there, I'm not spending $50, $100 in medications working a cardiac arrest. All I'm doing is putting an IV and giving a little bit of fluids. I've reduced that. So those types of things, while there's an initial expenditure, you hope that long-term you get a reduction in what we have to spend. Also, it's just better for the person. So we want to go out there and start teaching those things, getting into the classrooms and getting into the community to be able to reduce the frequency, most significantly in traumatic injuries, but also, you know, call 911 early for a heart attack, because time is muscle. Same thing with a stroke. Those things help feed. So those are called TCDs, time critical diagnosis. And so a stroke has a window that if it's not, you know, if they don't recognize those symptoms or don't know what those symptoms are, then, you know, time is brain in that aspect. Same thing with your heart. Same thing with sepsis. Sepsis is a new thing that kills, you know, a lot of Americans because it's unrecognized what it is. We're the first line to recognize and educate them, you know, that you have these symptoms with a known infection, source, etc. You know, sepsis sepsis is something that we need to start educating. And so EMS nationwide has started that process of starting to educate those things. Those are that public education piece. It's not just handing goodies out. It's while we're there, we're trying to engage with them. You know, some places will have a little sliding card, what to do in case of emergency before EMS arrives. Those types of things. One of the things we'd like to start doing sometime this coming year is to partner with the hospitals and say, hey, if you have, you know, during your Lamaze classes, give these cards out to them. We can come by and do a safety inspection of their houses. These are the recommended things. Make sure you're putting covers on your outlets. Make sure these high things aren't, hey, if you're boiling water, put it on the back burner because you got a toddler, they can come up and reach and pull it on them, and now we've got a 3rd-degree burn of a kid we're trying to. So those are those types of things that we can get out in the community and be advocates for their own health and safety that we want to start doing.
Isn't the bulk of that expense gonna be personnel though?
No, so a bulk of it would be personnel, but that wouldn't be, you have to get the stuff printed, you have to get the training items to be able to do like stop the bleed, you have training kits and things like that.
And
You
are
have-
those in your capital?
Well, so it depends on how much they are as for the capital, so they're normally 600, but they're not something that will, I don't know if over a 5-year depreciation cycle, right, because it kind of depends, so that's one of those things that it's kind of an all-encompassing thing of us being in the community, being able to reach out and affect them before we have to be there. Or, as we're coming, here's what to do. Here's how to do CPR. One of the things we'd love to do is be able to do a CPR training cycle where we go in and just once a month offer mass CPR training, you know, at the mall, somewhere. Sign up, come in, we teach CPR. CPR saves lives, and we want as many people as we can to know how to do that. And, you know, and explain that the new CPR guidelines, especially for laypersons, is you don't have to do mouth to mouth. Just do compressions, but you have to do them in the proper fashion. We want to get out there and do that for them. So that's what that does is, you know, it allows us that opportunity to have the items we need. And when we go to events, we're able to hand candy out, you know, things like that, that in order to be a part of the event, the organization putting it on puts those requirements. Hey, you can be in the Halloween thing, but you gotta bring enough candy for 2,000, or you gotta bring 2,000 pieces of candy, or whatever that is. You know, right now, we don't have that in a line item that we would like to.
Is that something that you'd be able to work with the health department, sheriff's department, and maybe even EMA on emergency management on outreach?
So we kind of partner with them on certain things at times, you know, so if it was, you know, something we could work with Christy and her department or the sheriff and stuff like that. Generally, we have different competing aspects of what our messages are. So obviously the sheriff's gonna have one about, you know, crime reduction. We're gonna have one about injury prevention. I think we can tie those together in some fashion, but I do think that they would be competing messages at times. Or not competing, but different, I guess is probably a better word.
And we're not doing any of this right now.
We are not.
Okay.
I just didn't know, I mean, at different events, obviously, the ambulance is there and you guys are kind of set up, and obviously you give tours of the ambulance and different things, but didn't know if there was opportunities for, you know, like smart 911, you know, with emergency management and the PD, and then obviously Christie's doing a lot of vaccinations and trying to educate
Absolutely.
people on healthy living and different things, and so, I mean, I get that you're trying to compete for their attention probably, but,
It's hard when we show up and everybody else is giving goodies away and it's like, what do you guys got? And we're like, we're just here to say hi. So that makes it a little difficult to gain that time, that face time to explain something to that family, that kid, whatever. And so we'd like to be able to kind of,
The police give a lot of badges, or I don't know if the police or fire, but
Right.
you'll see them downtown when there's something, and they all got those badges on. So if you get a patch or something like that, I don't think those are that expensive.
Right.
I think if something comes up and you need candy, like out at the mall or something like that, you talk to us, we can cover some of that.
or when you say we can cover some of that, what do you,
I'm just saying candy, if he has something like that, I'll buy candy, hell.
I think he's wanting more than candy.
Well, but when, yeah,
I mean, obviously, you can't teach things with, you don't
No.
have literature and you don't have different things that you can leave with people and, obviously, something that they could follow if something was going on and,
because there are other grants that we can apply for.
I mean, I like the idea. I mean, those probably ongoing funds every year.
More than likely. I think some of those, so one of the things that we looked at when we were trying to do this was, you know, cost of printing or things that we were trying to do. And so there's minimum bulk orders and things like that. So we may, next year, if we didn't expend them all, that may be able to drop a little bit, depending on, you know, the quantity that we got this year type thing. So I think that would be a kind of a fluid thing, but, you know, I do think that it's kind of potentially an ongoing thing to be able to sustain those education programs.
So I mean, when you're at events and stuff, I mean, you're at the high school for a football game or whatever, I mean, you could have some stuff to engage people with.
Yes, sir.
Rather than just sitting there watching the game.
Correct. And honestly, the more people we can educate, especially like high schools and things like that, to get into our profession, it eases that burden of, you know, finding future paramedics. I mean, we don't do a very good job as an industry promoting what we do and how we do it. And so anything that we can do to help home grow some, you know, mid-Missouri paramedics only makes it easier for us in the long run as well.
My witness?
Yeah.
All right. So, 8,000, right? That's what you had in there? 7,800?
No.
8,000?
I got 8,000 is what I put in.
Yeah.
Okay. So you kind of have something, where'd that number come from?
So I can tell you that my initial was much higher than that because there's again, the kind of the printing costs and things like those types of things is what we were looking at. You know, you gotta remember, we have to buy enough to put on every ambulance because, you know, make a little PR kit, so that way we're not just have one repository of them because, you know, we can go to the grocery store and a kid come up, oh, hey, and they wanna talk, nothing to put a, you know,
Well,
junior paramedic
That's
sticker on their
different
chest.
than a sticker, but
Right.
if you're wanting to go do, and they're purely educational things, you know you're gonna be somewhere that you can hand stuff out. or
Correct.
Give them a diagram, say, here, put this on your refrigerator, and here's phone numbers, and
Correct.
so.
One of the other things is like what's called Bio Life, and so what that is where basically people will put down, here are my current medications, here are my allergies, here's my medical history, all of that, and then we now know, hey, it's in your refrigerator, or it's a magnet on your refrigerator, or whatever, and then if they're unconscious, family doesn't know the history, we can go in there, take that, now we have everything we need in order to perform. So that's some of those things is, you know, it's kind of a full encompassing idea. So I got that number by trying to come up with the different programs that we would look at to, how can we be better stewards in the community?
So can we cut like, printing and binding? You got about 10,000 you're gonna spend on it this year, but we have, I don't know, we only had 7,000 in the budget for last year and 8370.
The biggest thing with printing and binding was the protocols, but if we get the,
Printing and binding's only 20%.
Yeah, it's office
Okay, I was
supplies you're looking at.
Yeah.
Office
If you're off
supplies,
the
I'm
line.
sorry. Okay, well, the printing and binding then
I'm
is,
like, there's
we
no
got
$10,000
1,000
in
there.
printing and binding.
that's why I was looking at
Okay, well, here's what I'm throwing out. I don't think it's a bad idea to do that, but can we grab a little from here, grab a little from there? And I know you've got everything down to the knuckle, cut to the knuckle on there.
So,
That's my concern is we're adding quite a bit in salaries that I don't have in
Okay, office supplies, that's, I think that's right in there, my ruler out to make sure, but that was one I looked at, so,
So they have
So I think
another
that was-
quarter to pay in there.
Right, so that, office supplies is something that we're trying to get a handle on a little bit more, but there were things that were not being done that should have, and I think that's why you saw that jump, from different administrative functions, kinda related to the closed session that you had this morning.
all right,
But it's gonna be ongoing, or we took care of those things this year?
No, that's probably ongoing because of meeting the requirement now.
I mean, I do think it's a good idea to do that stuff, but we just figure out where it's gonna come from. And, what you're gonna do is increase revenue by $8,000.
Right.
More than that, Jeff, more than that.
Oh,
So we are getting
Add a
that,
comma?
we are getting that
8
GMT.
million.
So the GMT should hopefully, our project is 150,000 additional next year. We're hoping it's more, but we're pretty comfortable at 150 of that additional revenue coming in from that GMT. We should be bringing that to you next week for submission to the state. They're finalizing some numbers now, and so we should see that.
It's not in there right now.
It's not in there currently,
Okay.
correct?
I don't wanna just pull it from contingency, cause you're gonna have other stuff that needs to come from that at some point, so.
Yeah, we cut contingency back down to
It's all about the
450. So it's gonna have to be transferred in from the sales tax, which is going to.
Yeah,
transfer operations.
yeah, I think it's great, we just gotta figure out where the money's gonna come
Well, that's my fault, y'all weaken me on budget days, and I keep giving and giving.
from. It's Kristen who does it.
Usually this time of year, I'm not worried about ticking them off, because it's Christmas season, I don't have to buy as many presents. But y'all weakened me, I don't know what was in the coffee this morning.
So are we wanting him to find it, or are we gonna take it from, the transfer?
Still talking about public relations.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Get everything else going,
Hmm.
save some money somewhere, say, I
It's-
saved some money here, can I buy some stickers?
Come back and look at it.
We'll get farther down, about midway through the budget.
How about if I get some GMT money in March, I'll come back and ask.
Mm-hmm.
How about we get somebody that we buy millions of dollars worth of stuff from and sponsor our education stuff? Give them some frisbees, we give them out. What's the curve?
Okay, where are we at?
So, wait on that one.
I think let's wait on
So,
that, that's
no
what,
on the public relations at
that's
the
what,
moment?
I'm sorry?
No on public relations at the moment?
Yeah, we're just gonna push it back.
The other request was paramedic school, which I took out.
Yeah, I'll pay for a scholarship, so I'll give you one.
Thank you, sir.
How much are they?
About 7,000.
7,000.
I would check that out, I'm not sure.
Well, take it out, I'll
Try to
just,
do some-
Same
I'll
as
just-
my scholarship fund? Is that
yeah,
what you're doing?
yeah, it's like you giving out scholarships to high
Okay.
schools.
So we don't need it in our budget, same.
No,
as
it's
the-
not, no.
Sam's doing it personally.
Yeah, I'll just do it personally.
You better make sure you can do that.
Did you talk to your wife yet? Did
No,
she
we have
okay
our
this?
own money, we don't fight over, we don't fight over money.
Okay, the only other thing we did not talk about is.
Of course, we're
I-
live here, so, hey, go back.
I have a 3% in there for Matt himself.
I'm willing to give that up.
One other thing that we hadn't talked about either was, an increase in part-time. And, we had talked about that a little bit. That you were gonna utilize some more part-time funds. And so, anyway, the number that I had was 45,000 additional to part-time.
Well, we did do those floaters, so that was 3 new positions you added to take care of that, so we wouldn't use as many part-timers.
What's the part-time for? That one wasn't in your budget, was it? The additional part-time, was it in your original budget? Cause I gave you the 125 you asked for.
Is it up there?
No, 125.
Out middle.
That's what you had in there, I left it alone.
Yeah, so this year we've had a pretty slim part-time process, so we've had, you know, a need to try to bring more part-timers in, so I think that we'll likely see that go up. So, and I think that we can utilize them in other areas as well, so.
So you're good with the 125?
I mean, I think that if we can add the 45 in, the good part about that is if we don't, then it goes right back in. So if we don't utilize that money, I can't transfer that into other locations because it's kind of segregated off. That's what happened this year, I believe. Or will happen.
I was gonna say, you haven't moved it yet.
No, that's what I'm saying, like, we haven't moved it, so that should go back in, you know, that's the good part, anything that we don't spend out of the personnel side of things gets pushed back in.
Where's that one coming from?
Hmm?
Where's that one coming from?
The change,
Yeah. I was having a heartburn about 8,000, I don't know where we're gonna take 45 out of.
What's benefit?
well, there wouldn't be any benefits on part-time.
Social Security. So 7%. Almost 8%. You figure another $4,000.
So obviously that would have to come out of the transfer, right?
You would increase the transfer here, which makes the other fund look worse.
The sales tax fund?
Yeah.
I can never follow the math, because it's always, it's not clean, but. So the transfer in is right currently 1.581.
Yes.
Okay,
Uh,
so
the
let's
numbers,
just,
where's it coming out of the,
let's just do this, so.
you have an admin fee or something that comes out?
Yes, but right now, if you take cash forward and contingency out of the sales tax fund, just come in here. We're spending down the reserves in there by 151,000. Which is obviously all of his capital plus some. Because of the transfer as high as it is currently. Which actually I need to adjust that sales tax number, but. That transfer is in, that transfer fund last line, that 5 million. the top one is the 60% to general fund to offset property tax. Second line is the transfer to EMS operations. Then there's the administrative fee on just the portion of sales tax that doesn't move. And then Shepherd's Building lease, which is the EMA side of the Shepherd's Building. So anything that you do to this number to increase it, makes this gap bigger.
And that's not even.
Well, that's none of the salary increases that we just talked about either. I mean, that's just going 1581 to 16.
And then you're adding to ongoing stuff, basically. And that transfer is a bit smaller.
So it's going to make that amount that you have for capital improvements less and less.
So the
once you
transfer
spend
from
down
last
that.
year was less than this year? Or
Right
this year?
now, it's the same in the budget.
Well, but she just said it will never go smaller. If I'm not spending 1.2 million in capital, obviously this year is going to be smaller. Is that correct?
I'm saying
transfer's
right
the
now,
same.
you're already spending, we're spending every dollar of that sales tax plus 169 with the transfer where it is. So if that
But
transfer
does-
continues to go up,
But the transfer this year for this budget cycle, is it more than what's proposed for next year?
no, right now it's exactly the same. But the changes that have been made today
Have to be added.
have to be added to it.
Because the transfer takes in operations, is that what that transfer is?
It balances your operations. So anything you add to the operations at this point has to come from the transfer because there's no other revenue to offset it.
And assuming that will continue at that same rate,
And then,
because most operations are salary.
and then, again, hopefully we get that GMT, which GMT is never going to be a net loss by any stretch. I mean, it's,
I mean, that would help, yes.
right, so if we're averaging, our estimate of 150, which we've told is conservative, then that would,
Right now, all that's gonna do is balance this budget.
no, right, but it'll balance it at that point, then it's not pulling out of, I mean, keeping it the same.
Right.
So, with the capital outlay that we have of 221, plus the ambulances that we purchased, that's what's basically got us in the hole.
Right, but if you average 2 ambulances a year, if
We'll
I,
check it.
yeah, if I plug that in, you're still only gonna be about 200,000 in capital every year. Or you're gonna be dipping in reserves
Every year.
every year.
Then you would go over that too. And we know that was probably gonna happen at least 2 every year.
So I don't think next year you'll see two. Not, I don't see that. So looking at the mileage we looked at this morning, I don't think you'll see that next year.
Yeah, 'cause we'll have 7. And if, so it's half our fleet.
If your goal is the 200,000, yeah, if it's going to mark 200,000, we'll have one that will be already there. Don't think we have another one that will hit quite there yet. And then it would
So
be
you do 1 next year and 2 maybe the following year.
That's kind of what we're projecting
Yeah.
right now.
But it doesn't leave you a lot of other money to do other capital expenses.
Correct. But when 60% of it goes to roll back, sales tax that, or property tax that, it's difficult to do.
So just beware, every
Yeah.
dollar we're adding to the other one is going to affect.
He's gonna bring us all kinds of money next year.
We're trying.
Yeah. That's what I'm banking on.
We're trying.
And of course, we got that 122,000 for the striker cots. It's ongoing for, what, 7 years, 5 years?
Five or seven,
Five,
I can't remember.
I think it's 5 now. I think it was 6 total. I think this will be 5. This one will be the second year.
So that's why I find the 45 very concerning.
I'm sorry?
That's why I find the 45,000 very concerning, because that 45 is gonna have to come from here,
Yeah.
plus the other salary adjustments we made earlier.
I didn't really notice that big change in the part-time line there.
I didn't change.
Pardon?
I said I didn't change.
No.
No, I did. I pulled it down.
So can we stay at 125 and mid-year go, oh,
I mean, we can start off that way, but I know you guys don't like us coming back mid-budget cycle, so.
So are the floats not kind of offsetting that?
So our problem is with retaining, right, so our floats, we don't have, we're still 2, 3, so we're 3 short right now, which are the float positions of those. So we implemented a new grooming policy, we had 1 individual leave, so that's actually gonna save you about 10,000 in that number. We didn't wanna shave in order to put a mask on. So with that, the part-time has, it's just hard to keep. We haven't dipped below that number yet. So. Where are we at this year on? Can we pull up the salaries for this year?
I'll say place to take it.
So we're almost 200,000 So our overtime has been lower than what was expected, so that's good. So I think that there's, based on what was projected or budgeted, and what is projected,
My projections are from the end of September, though, beware.
oh, is that what it's from? Okay.
biggest savings this year is in that loggers line. We're seeing CERF credits, so we pay the 4% for the employees. If they leave prior to being vested, the county gets their 4% back. So we're taking that as a reduction of our payment to them. So that bill is a lot less than where we projected it to be.
But we can't take that out of next year's,
No, you can't.
because that's gonna
Right.
still be the
The-
same, or.
They're still gonna.
The credits will go away eventually, we would hope, and you're still gonna budget per position for that retirement.
So you can count them.
So if you have that part-time, is that gonna help overtime possibly?
Could. I mean, it would.
I'm pretty conservative
Yeah.
with that overtime
If you're
number.
here, and you're not over there listening,
I figured you were
cut
in
the
the,
sheriff.
figured you'd be in the bar.
We took the unscheduled,
Yeah,
we took the
We had a
unscheduled
motion
portion
for
of
it.
that overtime down quite a bit. So I would not wanna reduce that anymore, cause the bulk of that is scheduled overtime.
What does blending on?
Yeah, we need to figure out where we can either do some thinning, cutting, or we're just gonna have to get through it next year with the way it is.
And I don't want to take contingency any lower because we've transferred out the bulk of contingency this year. We started the year at 488 and we're down to 146.
Transfers
So
are way
leave
up
us-
this year compared to prior.
What's that leave the balance in, sales tax fund?
You're jumping around.
I'm gonna have to get headed to another board meeting here in about 5-10 minutes at the latest.
We're gonna have to meet in the morning. I know you don't
That's
want
kinda
to,
where I was
but,
going with that. I'm glad you broke the bad news to them, so now they don't like you.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Meet at 5?
So,
5 departments yet to
We can
go.
meet at 5
Tonight?
in the morning.
It's scheduled for 8.
okay, I just need to be out of here by 10:30.
We
Maybe
better
better.
we better set another day.
your $2,018,500 is projected cash in sales tax at the moment.
Is that what you mean, Chris?
Yeah. So that's what's our reserve goal in that account?
I was trying to be close to staying at the 2, but want it to be less, we can take it down to less.
And you have, how much in contingency in, EMS budget?
In their operational
Yeah,
budget,
mhm.
450.
Nothing more than 2 months worth of bills. For one payroll, for your project.
Total
Just
budget
in-
divided by.
Okay, go ahead.
about one.
So you got an appointment at 10 tomorrow then?
Yeah, I can't, I gotta, I'll tell you, I got one employee gone, I got more stuff, I'll skip the chamber steering thing, but, yeah, I gotta,
We're
we
8 to noon, but if.
we do it in 2.5 hours tomorrow,
So you're out of here at 10:30?
yeah.
Okay.
We got marshals,
Almost
public
guarantee you we're not gonna be
administrator, we
done
haven't
tomorrow.
heard child
All
support.
right, Thursday, you want me to schedule a meeting? Or Friday?
I mean, I can go Thursday, but, hours, so we can't do the radio on.
Yeah, I talked to him, he said, yeah, but he's,
I don't really care to do the radio anyway.
no, 'cause he said,
Can you do Thursday, Sam?
yeah, can we still get out here and do it 8 o'clock and try to get out here as early as possible?
Let me see what
Because,
Jeff
I mean,
says.
this is,
Well, so can we get this one done today, or you guys got something?
what do we got? Are we done? I mean,
Well, so
Tell us,
the,
What do
the
you mean?
45 in part-time, what are you wanting to do? 'Cause
I'm gonna put it in, let's hope to God that he's gonna get us big bucks and then we don't,
I have a problem betting on money that we don't know for
well,
sure coming.
I know, but I mean, it's, like he said, as he said, if you don't use it, it's, but now we can sit here for another hour and
Chris, did you say put it in?
Yeah, I mean, I'm for putting it in, but, I mean, you guys wanna leave it out? I mean, Jeff really being awful quiet over there, so.
We'll put them on stand as soon as he gets back.
I'm sorry,
I'll ask him as soon as he gets back.
yeah. I don't know what else. There's no,
So we were no to public relations, no to paramedic school,
yeah,
but yes to 45 in part-time. Are you okay with 45 in part-time?
Where's it coming from?
I don't know.
What'd Sam say?
I don't know where it's gonna come from either, but, I mean, it's, yeah, I said we can leave,
I hit the reverse cards, all I gotta
we
say.
can leave it at 125 and, but,
I don't know, we've kind of taken the opinion on other people, here's what you get in part-time and live within it, but
What was, can you pull up the salaries again? Or the part-time?
125. Where is
I
it
know
at
what
right
it is, I
now?
just, yeah, no, I just wanna see what.
105 right now.
no, we just leave it at 125 then, if we go over, then. I don't know.
105 is where you're at right now. You got one more payroll, so 119 is gonna be where you're at for the year. About.
Yeah, so you're,
I'm not sure I'm gonna have to offer them health insurance. And that's gonna bump it up quite a bit.
So last year we were at 260 is what the budgeted part-time was. So even if we add the 45, we still reduce that from last year. The activity was 244 in 2018. So my concern is that if we go, and that's,
But the,
We've added
And
a
that's
lot
a
of
50
full-time to offset
yeah,
that.
that's a 50% reduction. Well, for every full-time, you have to backfill them, which means actually normally your part-time will go up, not down.
I know, but
So-
3 of those full-time were floats.
I agree, but they still get vacation as well, right? So those individuals have that. So the floats will, when they're
So are the floats truly paying for themselves then?
They will over time do that, yes, because right now, they've got 2 people off per day. So remember, they're only covering one of those. Should we have them on staff, but we don't have them on staff right now. So right now, no, but they're also not an expenditure because we're not paying a salary because those positions aren't filled as of yet. Like we just hired, we got 2 more coming on board, which will put us with the one leaving yesterday. So we'll end up having 1 float. So you haven't seen an expenditure on their part, but you haven't seen a reduction on their part either. So,
Then once we see the reduction, then part-time should not even be as high as it is right now. Because part-time should be high right now if we don't have
and it's
this.
because I got a lot of employees that are full-time working that overtime. That's a majority of what we're seeing. We're trying to get the part-timers more engaged on that.
Jeff, so we can finish this one, which way are you leaning?
Where we're gonna take it from if we,
It's gonna have to come from the transfer, because
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna have to come from sales tax, increase that transfer in.
so then just gives you less to draw from contingency next year then, right?
Yep.
Well, less to draw from the sales tax, not necessarily contingency.
Yeah.
I just have fun, we're gonna have it in there, cause it did drop that much. So, why would you say no, or you?
Well, at first I had said yes, just,
I'm trying to dump it on you.
okay, then you say yes, I'll say yes. We're done.
I thought Chris said yes to putting it in there.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, so you're yes?
Yeah, let's
All right,
let's
let's
just
do
do
it.
it.
Let's do it.
Run like hell.
Thank you, gentlemen. I can't run right now, but I
Oh.
would.
Now.
Can we do child
45,000.
support real quick, adjustment to attorney salary? Is that all we
What
have?
are we doing now?
I don't know. I just look at stuff I didn't have check marks by.
Jeff, do you wanna meet on Thursday? We're gonna meet tomorrow from 8 to at least 10. We probably need another day, so Thursday or Friday, whatever your pleasure is.
I don't have a pleasure after Wednesday. I had a date to about noon tomorrow, but what all?
Sam's gotta leave at 10:30.
We still got 5 more departments to talk about.
But on Thursday, I guess.
Thursday starting at 8.
Mhm.
I guess.
Okay. Do you wanna talk about any more today, or are you done?
I got another board meeting I really need to get to.
Okay.
And I hadn't even planned on being here this afternoon, so we didn't like plow through anything, but we got a couple more things done. I should've just left the no button here. We got me weekend.
So we got marshals,
Said yes
public
to everyone.
administrator, child support, or,
Child support,
Yeah.
prosecutor, marshal,
Yeah.
public administrator, and we gotta go back to assessor.
So it's ready.
I think so. Did you guys vote?
I move we stand in recess till 4:30.
second, all in favor?
Aye.